So in the previous step, what is the deliverable test strategy document, right? So that test strategy document, which is the output of test initiation, will be acting as the input for the next step, which is test planning. So TL will go through this test strategy document in detail, and which will be more abstract, so which is not very practical based. So definitely we need a practical document, and they will come up with in conjunction with, in working with senior test engineer. Okay, they might include senior test engineer, or the test lead will take care of it on his or her own. Okay, so the deliverable is test plan document. I'll just write deliverable so that you know. And this would primarily cover 5 questions: what, how, who, when, and why. I think I did not cover. Okay, so these 5 questions: what to test, how to test, who to test, when to test, and why you are testing whatever you are testing. Why testing? Why testing what you are testing? Okay, so these questions will be primarily answered. That's the main goal of this test plan document. Okay, so what to test will be defined in the scope. What is the part of testing? How much it will cover in terms of coverage? So all these details will be documented in a tabular manner or in a point by point manner or in a bullet point manner, whatever. So I will share one sample test plan document that also consists of automation test plan, both, so you would know. I'll put it in the sharing location, which I sent you, right? The Google Drive last time. Everybody got it? So in that same.
The folder was empty, Sangam, when I checked.
Folder was empty. Okay, let's see. That's not good. Folder, if I share the folder, obviously the files should be shared, but let's see. Everybody is not able to access the files, or only you? Okay, so I shared with the batch, whoever is involved in the batch. Oh, takes time. Let's wait. Oh, that is empty. Okay, it is. That's why you are not able to see anything inside. Okay, so I'll actually drop some files in it. I thought I dropped. Okay, anyway, no worries, I'll drop it. So moving forward, it also has test plan ID for tracking purposes. What is the plan, and in case something need to be modified in future, they can just refer to this plan ID. And introduction, blah blah blah, basic, yada yada, and description, and test items. What are the different test items? So once I'll share the document, you will know. I'll go through this also, but I'll just put these sections names only instead of writing here. And what are the features to be tested? What are the features not to be tested? Okay, so they will be stated explicitly. And what are the test approaches, basically, that we'll be discussing. And what are the different test environments that we are going to perform testing? Dev environment, test 1, test 2, stage environment, train environment, production, whatever, according to the project. And what is the entry criteria? So entry criteria means when do you start the testing? So majorly the testing will be started when the answer. So to start the testing, when do you start the testing? When? Anybody? code is
when application is ready and is given after the integration testing by the developer.
Correct. Yeah. When application's code is developed by developer, and URL is provided, because URL is the primary thing. Without URL, you cannot even proceed for the front-end testing. But that's not the only one. You need the database also, and web services. Web services mostly has URI, uniform resource locator. URL means uniform resource locator, uniform resource indicator, I think, or endpoint also we call. So these are the basic things, but you need to ask them if it is application is completely implemented or not, and you have deployed in particular environment, and you can ask for the URL and URI. So that would be the entry criteria. So if there is something is missing, you can ask for them for the stubs for which are used to compensate for the missing implementation of the application. You know. So that is the one will be discussed in the test plan document. And second one is suspension criteria. These are very important from interview standpoint as well as understanding. So you need to pay attention. Suspension criteria. So by name it defines. You can easily figure out what it is. So it basically is to when do you temporarily suspend the testing or temporarily halt or stop the testing. So obviously when environment is down, so due to various reasons, environment might got down, and obviously you have to temporarily halt the testing until it is up and running. Our application is crashed due to performance testing, and some performance tester has run on 5,000 users, and boom, and the application is crashed. So obviously you have to wait until the infra team brings the environment up and running. And showstopper. Showstopper is, anybody? Showstopper means you actually got some. Yeah, you can go on. Anybody can guess.
Yeah, which is like block you that you cannot go further, something like that. Correct.
Yeah, showstopper means that's what it is. So in fashion industry, showstopper means you just like. That's like super hit show, part of the show. That's what showstopper. But in IT industry, showstopper means something different, which is opposite. That means which is actually stopping the show or stopping you to perform or continue the testing. So most likely it would be the main module we discussed before, right? Main module and sub-modules. So main module is, let's say, login module is the main module, and without passing the main module, you cannot even go further because everything depends on it, right? Everything else. So if login functionality is not working and obviously you cannot move forward, then that would be categorized as showstopper. So in which case, what you do, you raise a defect as a severity high or critical. There is one more severity, critical severity, which must be fixed in 1 hour. We will discuss about this later. So then you follow up with the dev team and let the test manager or test lead know, and wait for it. So it would probably be fixed in an hour or two. So all you have to do is wait, and nothing else you can do as a test team member. So just wait. And exit criteria. So exit criteria is, by name it suggests when do you stop the whole testing. So there are two situations when you can stop. So one is time is over, whatever time is allocated for you testing, 35%, that is over, so you have to stop, even though some test cases are unexecuted. There is no other option. Or what is the other option? All the testing is done, you have actually finished all the testing, all the test cases you have finished manually or automation wise, so then you can actually stop. So that would be exit criteria. So you have to read this. You can read about these 4 things on, you can Google them or do your thing, but whatever explanation I just gave you, that would be sufficient. from understanding wise and interview wise. So in interview also you might be asked these questions: what is entry criteria, suspension criteria, showstopper, and exit criteria. So you should be able to answer it properly.
Sangha, in practical work, do you actually ever stop testing, or you test until the time is over?
No, I'm talking about in agile environment, you have short sprints, right? In that particular sprint, your time is over. So you tested whatever is in that particular sprint. You again continue in the next sprint, but for that particular sprint, you exit criteria would be you finish all the testing that is needed to be done. Not the full. This is not the full stuff. Only for that particular sprint, because we're following the agile sprint methodology nowadays, right? So I'm talking about.
No, I understand. What I'm saying is, sir. So what I'm saying is, so say if you have like 5 hours and you finish in 1 hour, do you just spend that 4 hours doing nothing, or you just keep testing? Like, what do you do in practical life?
Oh, that's a good question. So if you finish the whole testing in 1 hour, so you can let your test manager know. So he'll be happy, obviously, and he will appreciate it. He can take you out, take you on happy hour or something. But you can actually let him know, so he'll be happy, and you might do your own work, or you might actually work on the future test cases, But you are actually you will be unburdened of whatever task, and you will be appreciated for that. And this actually is commonly occurring phenomena, especially in automation testing. So if automation testing is able to, like Selenium WebDriver is able to finish all the testing before the scheduled time, so they will actually indulge in other activities. Like, what are the other activities? How to enhance the framework, right? How to enhancements, that's what we call, for the future purposes. So, and you can let know whatever you're doing, you can let your test manager know. And as far as the manual testing is concerned, you do the same. You can perform your own enhancements, or you can work on your own private things, personal things. So it's totally up to you what you want to do with the rest of the day. But yeah, big one drawback is if you finish this in 1 hour and let them know, so next time they will only give you 1 hour because you're able to finish the task in 1 hour. So be careful. So some people just take 2 hours and 3 hours, rest of the 1 hour, and say, hey, it got finished in 2 or 3 hours. So one thing is re-review. Even though you finish in 1 hour, let's say, that's good, but you might have done some mistakes. So it's better to re-review whatever you have done, re-execute, and whatever you have overlooked, you just want to take a look again. So, and you look at the defects, which are backlogs, which you have not done previously. So you can work on whatever you want to, but use your due diligence, common sense. Okay, so did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you working already, or are you in IT or different industry?
No, I work for the Department of Transportation, not IT.
Right. Okay. So you are actually novice to the IT industry. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I understand that. So that's what I'm saying. So in that case, your common sense tells you in Department of Transportation also, if you finish your whatever or task is assigned to you, what would you do? So you would do the same thing, right? So let's move on. I just want to drop these files. Okay, so majorly I would drop these diagrams, because diagrams you can actually go, these will illustrate everything. Okay, and I'll drop the notes and the sample test plan document later. Okay, so in the test plan document, they will also discuss about test deliverables, which need to be delivered at the end of the sprint, like what are the different output documents. Those are called deliverables. So majorly we have 4 deliverables, including but not limited to test design documents. So what are the test design documents? Test cases. Who will work on them? Junior test engineer. And test data. This data for majorly for automation testing, we can maintain a different data pool in terms of Excel spreadsheet or something. So that would be also a one of the deliverables. And test results, like test results would contain like test case name, verdict, pass or fail, all these things, which would be majorly a dashboard kind of thing. So I'll also share this document. I think I have one of those. Okay, defect reports is obviously which defect and when it was raised by whom, what is the description, what is the severity, priority, and all these things. So at the end of the sprint, test manager or test lead is responsible for delivering these documents. So obviously you need to deliver to the test lead as a test team member. And it will also state, the test plan document will also state what are the schedules, like what is the date and time of execution of different modules, different functionalities, and what are the risks and assumptions, and what are their solutions. And finally, it will have approvals with signatures of PM and TM. So that would be the end of the plan document.
I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I have a question about the test data. So who provide the test data and how you get the test data?
Okay, so test data is you can create your own dummy data. For example, you are testing a registration page where you provide all these demographic details, right? First name, last name. So any first name, last name you can enter, which would be actually called the dummy data, dummy test data. Okay. Or if you sometimes they want to mimic the production data, like real time, how it would look like real time data, but they don't want to give it to you. And what they will do is they will mock it up, mock the data, and that will be called as synthetic data. Okay. So that data you can use. They will provide it in the form of Excel spreadsheets mostly, and you can, instead of using your own dummy data, you can use that data. So there will be different team also, synthetic data or performance testing team can provide you with the data. So they are capable of doing that. All right.
Okay.
So the test data pool actually is related to, when I call test data pool, mostly it's, I'm referring to the automation testing. Okay. So in automation testing, we need to parameterize some values instead of hard coding. So in that case, we will actually use the data pool. So don't worry, I will tell about those test data pool when we start that. Okay, so this is the sample test plan document would look like. So initially it would have revision history. Okay, it will have emblem and everything here. I just removed for other purposes. So initial draft will be provided, and because I have written this myself, so I can share it with you. And it will have table of contents starting with objectives, introduction, objectives, and methodologies. It primarily focuses on automation related activities for the test plan. So initial introduction will be actually in general, addressing the whole testing itself. So it will be just some verbiage difference itself. And automation regression testing reports, and here it will be manual testing reports. And as automation testing is a part of whole testing, so just remember that. And just now we discussed this criteria, right? Entry criteria, suspension criteria, resumption criteria when you resume, and exit criteria, approval criteria, that will be discussed. And testing processes, like what are the different deliverables, what are the environments, what are the databases, blah blah blah, risks and assumptions, and something related to Selenium and acronyms and reference documents. Okay, finally approvals. Okay, and I'll just go through this quickly. Introduction. So test plan is provided for actually it's an addendum of master test plan. So master test plan consists of more chapters related to general testing activities. This is just confined to the automation only. So it would be more or less same. So just for the sample reference purpose, you can go through this. And what are the different objectives? Objectives will be to testing objectives will be to test in different environments and provide the code with which is bug free. Finally, that is the main goal. And what is the scope of automation testing? So what kind of testing we will do on front end, web services, back end, batch processing, database. Okay, all this will be covered. That is the scope. And how do you strategy? What is the strategy? So you test different modules of the application. That is the strategy. And you actually decide about strategy in automation. How do you go about it? First, you prepare the automation test framework and go about it. So it's entirely dependent upon. So this is subject to discussions, lot of discussions. You actually discuss with team, senior test engineer, as I was prepared in after discussion, after a lot of discussions with the test manager, test lead. So this is the final product. Okay, and what is the steps for automation testing you can provide? I'll just go through this very fast so that I can cover all this. And what is the preliminary conditions, like what is the entry criteria for automation, and what would be the framework? So when we work on Selenium WebDriver automation, I would show you, but more or less it would look like the same. Library, it will contain page object model, blah blah blah, and data pools will be stored. Okay, so this is how it would look like diagrammatically. And I would store some library scripts here, library scripts for others, and data pool will be sitting here. And I'll call all of these and call them in the scenarios and test cases for different modules, and I'll call these in the master driver. And finally, this will be executed, and the results will be sitting or stored in the SharePoint kind of thing, which is a test results base, test base. So that would more or less it would look like that automation framework. Okay, so this is how it looks like in Eclipse, the main test IDE, coding IDE. So we will discuss about this later. And different functions. If I am going to create any functions, how would it interact? How to interact with each and every element? Blah blah blah. So this is all purely very abstract. I mean, in general, I mean generic. You can say. It's totally we have to customize it according to the project needs. Okay, so I'll.
So no, that's what I was thinking. So this is a standard procedure how you create automation test plan, right?
Smoke testing. What is the question?
I'm saying this is kind of like a standard procedure how you create automation testing, not a particular test plan. This is right.
Right. Yeah, that's why I said it's some part of the master test plan. I probably have other document. Don't worry, I'll share. But you just remove automation. It would be looking as a manual testing. So chapters will be same more or less, because in manual testing also you have smoke testing and regression testing. So all we are doing is in an automated fashion. Because I am working as automation tester, I have this. So don't worry, I will look for the manual testing plan which you want, right? So I'll share it with all of you if I find it. But
I want both automation and manual.
Right, yeah, no problem. So I'll share this with you, and like I said, it's the same thing. Everything is covered. Just take out the word automation, and you have the manual testing plan document. There you go. Because all these are required to be done manually if you don't have automation in place, right? Okay. Smoke testing and regression testing. These are two important aspects. Smoke testing, how the report would look like, and regression testing, how would it look like, and data pool, how would it look like. I am not sure this is actually attached. I lost the Word version. So don't worry, I'll share this report, the appendix later or attachments later. And test cases, it would look like this: test case ID and test scenario. These are test scenarios, not test cases. So it would like refer to a story, like this is referring to a healthcare application in which there is a family of one husband and wife and a child, and they are applying for some kind of healthcare insurance. They actually earns so and so per year, and wife is pregnant, and they due by so and so date, and their monthly income is so and so. Then what would happen? What is their how much they have to pay for like out of pocket and a premium? What is their premium, health premium? All these things. So these are the kind of scenarios you have to come up with. Okay, these are test scenarios. Okay, test cases will be, I'll show you implementation of this. So you elaborate these into steps. That would be test cases, and every test scenario has an ID, and every test case has an ID. So these are automatable test cases. So that's why criteria reporting and criteria we discuss. What is the pass-fail criteria? When do you start? When do you stop? When do you halt? And what do you do with the showstopper? And how do you deal with different kinds of severity of the defects? Okay, you can actually read about this. I don't want to go through each and every line. And okay, so in this case, if all plant test scripts are executed 95%, not 100%, then you can say it. You can actually approve it. So there will be some margin. So don't worry, 100% is not always possible, because there is a margin of not able to complete something because of technical or time limitations. And what are the different kinds of testing we'll do? Functional testing, GUI testing, automation testing, and different testing. And what are the different environments? Okay, so in the test plan document, obviously they will say, like I said, this is generic pertaining to general master test plan document. Just take out the word automation, you have everything. Okay, so in TST, TST2, test 3, these are the environments. What are those details? URL, endpoints, database details. Okay, remove this, but you have those in real-time project. You have the details like this. And database details. Database has four points, right? Host name, instance, database name, port number, and schema. 5 points, and user ID, password. So all of these. And risks and assumptions. They will talk about what are the risks majorly if you provide this, and what are the assumptions, and what are the solutions for these, and different constraints, and what is the nomenclature for each and every. Test cases also, you have to follow certain nomenclature. You have to mention application type underscore the actual application underscore reference number underscore test environment TSTR dev. Same thing for all deliverables. You have to maintain certain naming convention. You cannot just name according to your own will. So this is applicable for manual test cases as well, manual testing as well as automation. And okay, enhancement. So how do you enhance the Selenium scripts? And what are the preconditions before you start the execution? So reboot the client, check for these things, make sure the data pool is in place, and you have before execution every other virtual machine is ready, and you do, and database is up and running. Everything you check as a prerequisites, and you run the whole execution. Then after the execution is done, post conditions, you evaluate results, take the screenshots, evaluate the results, and log out whatever you've been logged in, and raise the defects in JIRA, and finally you provide the results, and you put your analysis, you interpret the analysis, and provide that report, final report to the test lead. And acronyms, what are the different acronyms you use in? And like I said, this is part of master test plan. So you take some documents as reference, you take requirement, BRS, business requirement specification, system requirement specification, HLD, LLD, all these as a reference document. So you provide this. And finally, approval, signatures. So that's what it would look like, test plan document in general. So I will share this with you guys.